4. Prerequisites of the prayer. Following are the prerequisites of the prayer. A. A person must not be in a state of inebriation. B. If the person is a woman, then she should not be in her state of menstruation or puerperal discharge. C. A person must have done the ceremonial ablution or wudu, and in case of janaba or menstruation or puerperal discharge, must have taken the ceremonial bath. D. In case of being on a journey or being sick, or in case of non-availability of water, a person can offer the tayammum or dry ablution in place of both the ceremonial ablution and the ceremonial bath. E. A person must face the Qibla. These 5 things have always remained as the essential prerequisites of the prayer. However, since the Arabs were ignorant of divine guidance for a long time, ever since the Prophet Ishmael ﷺ left them centuries ago, they were not very aware of these prerequisites. Thus the Quran, in order to remind them of these, stated them with full clarity in the following words. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون ولا جنبا إلا عابر السبيل حتى تغتسلوا وإن كنتم مرضى أو على سفر أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط أو لامستم النساء فلم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا سعيدا طيبا فامسحوا بوجوهكم وأيديكم إن الله كان عفوا غفورا. Believers, do not approach the place of the prayer when you are drunk, till you know what you are saying, nor when you are ceremonially unclean, until you have bathed yourselves, except if the intention is to pass through the prayer place. And if you are sick or on a journey, or when you have relieved yourselves, or had intercourse with women, and you find no water, take some clean mud and wipe your faces and your hands with it. Glorious is God and forgiving. Surah number 4, verse 43. At another place, the Quranic words are, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين وإن كنتم جنبا فاطهروا وإن كنتم مرضى أو على سفر أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط أو لامستم النساء فلم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا سعيدا طيبا فامسحوا بوجوهكم وأيديكم منه ما يريد الله ليجعل عليكم من حرج ولكن يريد ليطهركم وليتم نعمته عليكم لعلكم تشكرون. Believers, when you rise to pray, wash your faces and your hands as far as the elbow, and wipe your heads and wash your feet to the ankle. And if you are ceremonially unclean, bathe yourselves. And if you are sick or on a journey, or when you have just relieved yourselves or had intercourse with women, you find no water, take some clean mud and wipe your faces and your hands with it. God does not wish to burden you. He seeks only to purify you and to perfect His favor to you so that you may express gratitude. Surah number 5, verse 6. Regarding the Qibla, the Quran says, قد نرى تقلب وجهك في السماء فلنولينك قبلة ترضاها فولي وجهك شطر المسجد الحرام وحيث ما كنتم فولوا وجوهكم شطرة. We have seen you turn your face many times towards the sky. So, O Prophet, we have decided to turn you towards the Qibla that you like. So turn your face towards the holy mosque. Wherever you are, turn your faces towards it in the prayer. Surah number 2, verse 144. These verses have declared that the states of inebriation and janaba are equal as far as terminating the prayer is concerned. The Almighty has directed Muslims not to go near the place of prayer in these states. It is evident from this that both are impure states. The only difference is that inebriation affects the mind and janaba the body. It is evident to every person that just as liquor arrests his intellectual power, the spiritual impediment caused by janaba in a person deprives him of the inner satisfaction and presence of mind that is a requirement of the prayer. The Almighty has, however, given one relief to a person who is in the state of janaba, that he can pass through a mosque in this state if some need arises. In order to come out of this state, the ceremonial bath has been prescribed. Without this bath, the prayer cannot be offered. One should have this bath in a thorough and complete manner. The Quranic words ittaharu and ightasilu testify to this. The way the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ set about following this directive, as mentioned in various ahadith, can be summarized as follows. First, the hands should be washed, then the genital area should be thoroughly cleaned by the left hand. Then wudu should be done, except that feet should be washed later at the end. Then while inserting the fingers in the hair, water should be soaked into it so that it reaches its roots. Then water should be poured all over the body. In the end, the feet should be washed. Aisha radhiyallahu anha reports that when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would have the ceremonial bath after janaba, he would first wash both hands. Then he would clean his genital area by the left hand by pouring water on it by the right one. Then he would do wudu the same way as wudu is done for the prayer. He would then take some water and insert his fingers in the roots of his hair until when he saw that the water reached the skin, he would then pour 3 handfuls of water on his head. Then he would drench all his body with water and then wash both feet. Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu reports, my aunt Maimuna radhiyallahu anha once told me, I placed some water in a utensil before the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ so that he could have the ceremonial bath of janaba. He first washed both his hands 2 or 3 times. Then he slid his hand in the utensil and poured some water over his private area and washed it with his left hand. He then thoroughly rubbed this hand on the ground and did wudu the way it is done before the prayer. He then took 3 handfuls of water and poured them on his head. Then he washed all his body. He then stepped aside and washed both his feet. The method of doing wuzu, which is mentioned in the verses quoted earlier, is that first the face shall be washed and the hands up to the elbows, and after that the whole of the head shall be wiped, and after that the feet shall be washed. The wiping of the whole head is essential because for this directive the words used are wamsahu bi ru'usikum, or wipe your head. And those who are aware of the subtleties of the Arabic language know that on such occasions the letter Bay signifies completeness. Similarly, it apparently seems that the directive regarding feet is governed by the verb wamsahu, or wipe. However, the words ilal ka'bayn, or up to the ankles, after arjulakum, or your feet, declined in the accusative, are decisive that this directive is coordinated to aidikum, or your hands. Had they been coordinated to ru'usikum, or your heads, the words ilal ka'bayn, or up to the ankles, would have been redundant. We can see this from the verses of tayammum, where wiping has not been made conditional to ilal marafiq, or up to the elbows. Hence, the feet shall necessarily be washed. Their directive has been deferred merely to keep intact the sequence of washing the limbs in wudu. How did the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ do wudu? If all the narratives are collective in this regard, the following picture emerges. First, he would clean his teeth and then start with wudu from the right side. He would begin by washing both hands and then rinsing the mouth 3 times. He would then pour water in his nose 3 times and thoroughly clean his nose. Then he would wash his feet 3 times and run fingers through his beard. Then he would wash his hands till the elbows, and then he would take water separately and wipe the head, and with it clean the ears from the inside and the outside. The manner in which he would wipe his head would be that he would take both his hands from the forehead right to the back of his head and then would bring them back. He would then wash his right foot first and then the left. Sometimes the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would wash the limbs just 1 or 2 times in wudu. It is evident from certain ahadith that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ mentioned the blessings of saying أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله, after doing wudu and of praying 2 rakats. It is also evident from certain other ahadith that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would do wudu after going off to sleep at night and urge other people also to do it. In particular, he would like and urge people to do wudu in the state of janaba before sleeping, eating food, and going near one's wife a second time. Following are some of the prophetic sayings regarding the blessings of wudu. Abdullah ibn Umar Radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu says that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ once said, when a believer does wudu, wherein he rinses his mouth, the sins of his mouth are wiped out. And when he puts water in his nose, the sins of his nose get wiped out. When he washes his face, the sins of his face are wiped out, even as far as from under his eyelashes. And when he washes both his hands, the sins of his hands are wiped out, even as far as from under his nails. And when he wipes his head, the sins of his head are wiped out, even as far as from his ears. And when he washes his feet, the sins of his feet are wiped out, even as far as from under the nails. He then said, going to the mosque and praying further adds to this. Malik ibn Anas, Al-Mu'atta, page 24, hadith number 67. Abu Huraira Radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu reports from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the people of my ummah shall be called over on the day of judgment, their foreheads, hands, and feet will be bright because of the effects of wudu. So, whoever wishes can increase this brightness. Al-Bukhari, Al-Jami as-Sahih, page 29, hadith number 136. Once wudu is done, it remains intact until something which terminates it is not encountered. Consequently, the directive of wudu is for the state in which it no longer remains intact, except if a person does wudu for the sake of freshness, in spite of being in the state of wudu. In such a situation, though it is not a requirement, it is something which earns a person a lot of reward. Following are the things which terminate wudu. A. Urination. B. Defecation. 3. Passing the wind, whether with sound or without it. D. Discharge of madhi or vadi. The above things terminate the wudu except if they occur because of some disease. Sleep and unconsciousness themselves do not terminate wudu. However, since in these states a person is not able to know for certain whether his wudu is intact or not, it is essential to do wudu after them as a precautionary measure. If in the case of a journey, sickness, or unavailability of water, wudu and the ceremonial bath become difficult, in the verses of Surah Nisa and Surah Maida quoted above, the Almighty has allowed the believers to do tayammum or dry ablution. The verses go on to state the method of tayammum as well. This method is as follows. Hands should be rubbed on a pure surface and wiped over the face and hands. It is reported about the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that for this he struck both his hands on mud and blew on them and wiped the left hand on the right and the right hand on the left, and then wiped both hands on the face. The Quran has clarified that the tayammum suffices for all types of impurities. It can thus be done both after things that terminate the wudu and after states which need the ceremonial bath. Similarly, it needs to be appreciated that in case of being on a journey or being sick, tayammum can be done even if water is available.